I mean, for you, never.
I mean, you know, right?
Oh, I know.
Unreal. Truly.
This is insane, huh?
Yeah. You know you're my soulmate, right? Who's that, soulmate?
Frank, just someone I know.
Okay, well, cool. The restaurant is just down the street.
Just someone I know, huh?
Frank, Charlie.
What's up, man?
The one that's been catfishing you?
Turns out he's real.
And your soulmate, apparently. Great. I'm just someone you know, right?
Frank.
Fuck off. Nice to meet you, soulmate.
Nice to meet you, too.
Yeah.
Frank. He's got an anger management problem.
What's up, guys? Welcome.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play that video for you because I thought that we'd have like a little example of what we're going to be talking about today. Today, we're going to be talking about cheating. And I know I put like a little poll for you guys to kind of give your opinion, and you all wanted to know about micro cheating. So let's introduce my brother, Aaron. He's with us today. We're going to be doing this every Monday. What's up,
Hey,
Aaron?
what's happening, everybody? Thanks for having me here, Gia.
We are both running on very little steam. We've been training hard. So we're going to give you a full hour today, but I want to definitely go into what micro cheating is. I know that you've heard me on Twitter before talking about don't keep the opposite sex as friends. And I get like a lot of, backlash from that. People telling me, oh, that's just being insecure or that's being controlling. But we're going to get into why that's not the case. I think that the women who say things that, oh, you're being insecure or you're being controlled, they really don't understand male nature. And that's why, like, when I started this live stream, I always wanted to have my brother or another perspective from a man, right? So I'm going to ask you, Aaron, like, when you say that to somebody, right, that you're not cool with it, what's the feedback?
What do you mean? From like what a guy expects to hear from the woman, or what?
Yeah, like if you have decided to get into a relationship with a girl and she comes back, let's say she's talking to some dude, and you say, I'm not cool with that. Like, I'm not cool with you hanging out or being friends with that guy. What have you heard? Was she cool with it, or have you heard, hey, that's just being insecure?
Okay, well, it kind of depends on a few things. I think first of all, it depends on how early the relationship is or how long you've been with somebody, because I think that in the beginning, if you just line stuff out, and set up boundaries and say things like, hey, look, I'm just meeting you or whatever. And, if you're one of those girls who got a whole bunch of guy friends and shit, like that doesn't fly. I just, I'm checking out, just letting you know. And then, a lot of times a girl will say, well, yeah, but I just don't get along with girls, it's just easier to get along with guys. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, you're hot. So like, I'm sure dudes love you, you know what I mean? And so there's that, but, there has been time, there's always like an exception, I think, you know what I mean? And so typically it's like a hard no, but, I was in this situation one time where a girl I was seeing was like, I've been friends with this guy forever, and I want you to meet him, you know what I mean? And I know you're going to like him and And, when I was having problems with my ex, like my ex was calling him and giving him a hard time and shit and telling me all these stories, to the point where I'm like, still not really into it. I don't want to go, but then it came to a point where it was like, I had an opportunity to meet the guy, and I was like, okay, yeah, for sure. And so I did, and it went really well. And I think that has everything to do with the way your partner handles it, first of all, because, I was able to chat with the guy and connected with him, and there was it ended up being a good thing. And so when I say it, so I guess I would say, it's probably best for like guys that are like meeting a girl and she says, you know, I'm friends with this guy and that guy, or whatever. Like that's a fucking red flag, right?
Yeah, I
You know?
think I think that we have to acknowledge that men, when a woman comes into their circle, right? And the reason why a man chooses a friendship or even a brotherhood is because he's able to share common interests. He's able to say certain things and be himself. When a woman enters the circle, automatically that changes. And as a woman, I understand that. I've taken the time to understand that male nature is very different than woman nature. The reason why a woman, while she can just stay friends, it is not the same way for a guy. A guy is not going to just want to be friends. He might say it's cool, but he's waiting for that right timing, you know? So I want to kind of get into what micro cheating is, because it is a made up term. It's come along with social media and technology, and it's like a trending term. I just think
Mm,
cheating is cheating. I don't believe in micro cheating, or cheating is cheating, right? It comes down to keeping
sure.
things secret from your spouse or significant other that you wouldn't be cool with if they were doing the same thing,
Yep.
right? That's
Yep.
that's really
Yep.
what micro cheating is in a nutshell.
Yep.
But I think, like, I want to get into the details of it, because I think it's going to help guys out there that are dating, that are with women, modern women, who are kind of like, no, it's cool if I go out with my girlfriends at night and go drinking, and it's cool if I have guy friends, and it's cool if I have guys in my DM and we're talking, and that's not cheating. I'm not they're not touching me. There's nothing physical going on, but actually it is cheating,
And
right?
that's just all the shit that like those girls say to just
Hmm.
like literally like gaslight your ass. That
Hmm.
like you know this dude's not flirting with you and all that. But I'm not going to interrupt you. But if you want to keep going, yeah. Sorry.
Exactly, because this is how breakups, cheating, and divorce begins, right? It starts subtle.
Mm,
First it's somebody liking the photo on Instagram, then
yeah.
it's them in the DM. Next thing
Yep.
you know, they're going and saying little cute things. Oh, you look real hot, right? And
Yep.
then it goes into the fishing for the compliments, then seeking validation, then they're meeting up at some luncheon thing, and the next thing you know is, hey, let's meet up at this place, which they know that they won't bump into anybody there. They pick this dark little corner in the back. It becomes a regular, and before you know it, they're crossing boundaries.
Well, yeah. The whole thing is crossing boundaries.
Uh
Like the
huh.
whole thing
It's
is
subtle.
like
It starts subtle, and then it
if
steamrolls.
you're with somebody and you don't want the person you meet to know the person you're with, then the person you're with doesn't mean that much to you at this point, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so you got to reevaluate your situation. And, I'll say this, all right? On the other side of things, like, me personally, I like to separate like my personal relationships, my business relationships, and a lot of times, women, will present themselves like they're trying to, I don't know, help out in some fashion, with, something I'm doing with work or whatever. And for me, if I get a good thing going and I'm thinking like let's say I have a girl that's a camera girl, she's real pretty, and I feel like it creates a great vibe or an atmosphere or something like that. I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't want to screw this up, so we're just going to keep this going, like the chances of the girl like hanging on like a dude would, like slim to none.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just don't hang on. Like chicks don't hang on like that. like I've seen it 100 times. I'm like, oh, I'm like thinking like, I mean, maybe if I would have hooked up with her, she would have stuck around a little longer. You know what I mean? Like thinking to myself, but that's not how I
Why
like
do
to
you
do
think
it.
that is? Why do you think that is?
Because okay, so women and men are just different. So first of all, like women want attention. Like they want attention, and they're used to, especially, pretty girls are used to a certain level of attention all the time. And so
But
if they
why do you
like,
think that is? What do you think the deeper core thing is going on? Because I have an answer, but I want to see if you know.
well, okay, so I just think that like first of all, men are hunters, okay, and so like they'll sit and wait for the opportunity. You know what I mean? But like with women, because they kind of function off of their attractiveness is how they create this allure and it puts them in a position of power with men. And so if they decide they like a guy, you know, they're not going to sit in a friend drawer because they want things to go according to whatever plan that they have. It's not like a dude, like they have a plan. And like, I just think that you might not be giving them the attention they want or whatever. And they find someone that will, and then they move on and they just, that's it.
So I talk about this sometimes on social media. Everybody has to deal with their self-esteem. Everybody. I do, you do, we all do it. Okay. Now, level of self-esteem varies in everybody, right? So you have somebody who might have insecurity, but maybe they only have a small amount, right? And then you have those that are extremely insecure and their level is up there, okay?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that very attractive women or women that are attractive have a tendency to be told all the time how beautiful they are. So they're not really having to learn their abilities like beyond beauty. So they simply
Totally.
exist and they're
Totally.
handed everything, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because of that, they don't learn their capabilities. They don't learn what they're able to do beyond surface level. And what that does is create a lot of bad self-esteem. They don't build they don't know what they can do. Okay. So what they're doing is every single time they see a girl who might be better looking or good looking, they automatically tear her down because their worth is tied to that. Okay. So everybody deals with insecurity. Everybody. The levels is what changes. So what ends up happening is social media added a wild card to the mix. What it did was now people who didn't really know their abilities and capabilities could go on there, could pose, right? Could act like they got it, and then feed off the validation of being told all the time how great and wonderful they are. And it's not just women, okay? It's also men as well. So I have known guys in the past that are married. They don't ever plan on leaving their wives, but they love to flirt. They love to flirt. They love that validation that it brings. And I won't tend to go and be like, that's flirting, that's cheating. Like, I won't say it like that, but I'll say, yeah, you got a lot of charisma, you got a lot of personality, but do you realize that you might think that's innocent, but that other person on that other end doesn't see that as innocent? They're kind of reading that as you are opening the door. And if you're going to open the door, do you understand that there's consequences for that? And when I address it like that, all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, I got it, right? So it's like when I try to talk to people, I always let them know, you can't just shame somebody or tell them, oh, you're doing this wrong, because then they're going to shut you out. They're going to ignore what you're saying. They're not going to see how it benefits them. So what I try to do is, hey, listen, this is what's happening. This is what it's going to bring. These are the consequences. Are you prepared for that? And then they have to think, so I think that there's a lot of that going on. Women are doing it like as a way to get validation and to feel good, but then it just leads, it snowballs, right? And have you heard the term phishing? Have you heard that term?
I think so.
What do you think it means? Like, if it goes from micro cheating to phishing, what do you think phishing is?
I mean, trying to see if you get a bite. I think it's kind of
it's pretty. You got it. It's pretty much what it sounds like. So the bait on the hook is the flirting, right? So you cast that out, and then you reel it in, and it's like, what am I going to bring back? So now, usually what ends up happening is people move into the grass is greener. So they might start with the flirting, but then before you know it, they're kind of like, oh, what is this going to bring? Oh, maybe the grass is greener. Oh, and then they start thinking, well, maybe it'd be better. What would happen if a relationship started with this person? And then that's how it's a slow creep. And then it starts with finding every little fault in the relationship that you have currently. And that's where it kind of snowballs. And then before you know it, the guy's like, what the hell happened? She wants a divorce. She wants out. No, she's in her head been building up the grass is greener. She's been doing micro cheating all along. Yeah. And now she's given the chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Micro cheating word, but it's cheating, whatever.
Yeah. I think the best situation is to have your boundaries outlined
Mm-hmm.
And
Amen.
I think that because I think what maybe a lot of these girls are telling themselves is like it's not a big deal because maybe the boundaries haven't been outlined. So if a guy says like, no, you're not going to be talking to these dudes and shit, like any dude you're talking to, I want to talk to him. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Any dude you say is so great, like I want to meet this, I want to talk to him. You know what I mean? And I'm going to feel it out. Because then if there's something there that is not like platonic, like whatever, that's going to scare that guy off. You know what I mean?
But
Like
why do you think the boundaries are being blurred now, more so than ever before?
okay, well, there's kind of a lot, but I think
I
that
know.
for the longest time we know that like men, hooking up with a girl, the more girls a guy hooks up with, it's almost like he's the man and it's all good. Well, now women are starting to adopt this, like, oh, well, the more guys I hook up with, like, it's all good. And so there's like no real governor to like all this hooking up. And so girls are having a lot more like casual relationships. And so everyone's a potential casual fling, or it's a potential, maybe we could have fun tonight. Maybe it's this weekend. And so now it's just everything is just like in the middle. And so nobody's going to say like, wow, you're so great. I'm going to turn off all these opportunities because, you got women that, I heard a statistic recently, and then I started thinking about it. So I don't know for sure if this number's right, but the woman that brought it up said there's 10.4 million girls from 18 to 24 in the United States. Okay. And there's
That
one,
OnlyFans, it's the OnlyFans stats.
yeah, and there's 1.2 million girls that do OnlyFans or something. So that's about
It was
10%.
Pearls. I think that
Okay,
was Pearls video.
10%, right? But then you got to think to yourself, so that's 1 in 10 girls, right? Let's think about this. Most of the girls that only do OnlyFans are pretty. Some of them are really pretty. So, like, if you were to take all of the pretty girls out of that big number, I mean, maybe you have, out of 10 million, maybe you have 2 million that are beautiful. They're beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And then you got 1.4 doing OnlyFans. So does that mean like close to half these girls are doing OnlyFans that are pretty between 18 and 24? And if you were to ask me, I would say that's probably pretty accurate.
I'll tell you why I think the boundaries are blurred. I think that now that women are in the workforce, okay, and they're kind of putting their position where, oh, I'm out in the world, I'm traveling, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, right? They're putting themselves in men's shoes and also in men's opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're kind of like, this is how I make my money. I have to be online. Everything's monetized, right? Everything is, I got to do this because I got to make money. I have to meet with this person because I got to make money. So when you start putting money ahead of what should be, right, or what's the best for your mate, for your spouse, this is where boundaries are blurred. And this is where I think a lot of this is coming from. Because it's like, at this point, if a woman at that age, especially in the dating age or the age where she's looking to start a relationship, her sexuality is her agency. And that is, I mean, it is what it is. Like, okay, yes, we all have human value, but online, technology, dating, her sexuality is her agency. That's where we are today. So when you do that, you basically blur every other line and anything goes.
Okay, well, I agree, and I think we need to address this other situation that nobody's really talking about that is part of it. So there's a lot of girls now on like these apps to get sugar daddies that pay their rent and bills and all this shit. And so right away they're setting themselves up to have nothing but shallow short-term relationships with guys and so that's you're never going to get
again, the almighty dollar is being ahead of everything else. They're even putting it ahead of their family, they're having a kid. That's what their God has become. So once you do that, when you put money as a priority, where are the boundaries? They're all going to go out the window.
Yeah, I mean, but let's think about it because I don't think a lot of guys think about it. So it's like this. So let's
Mm.
say you got this beautiful girl. She's 21, 2, 3, and she's super nice and cute. And then she gets on this site and she gets some guy that's like paying her rent or paying for her car, or paying for little things like that. And then, she goes to see him maybe once or twice a month or whatever, and that dude's got tons of money and that dude has more than one of her. And she
Yeah.
knows that it's just kind of this transactional thing, but she really enjoys doing the fun things. She really enjoys going to the neat places and beautiful places. Really likes being on planes and boats and trains and all the shit. You know what I mean? So to her, it's like, well, it's cool because he's nice, and we're kind of building this relation, like this friendship, like we're friends.
Well,
Okay,
that's
so
why
then
I say you
you
can't
have
have
this.
friends with the opposite sex, and we're
Yeah,
back to
so okay,
that.
so it's like, well, you're hooking up with him, so you're more than friends anyway. But in your mind, you're saying he's like a friend because it's not long term. But then now, any other guy you're talking to, if you're not disclosing this like right away,
Mhm.
you're a piece of shit because like that dude could be talking to you thinking that you're great, and then you're running off and getting plowed by some rich dude, just to go to on a boat or another country or whatever, and then you come back and act like it was a girls trip because that guy had three of you,
Yeah.
and then it's like you come back and it's like it's so whatever was going on. And so I think that there's a lot of guys that are wise to that, and so
Hmm.
they think to themselves like, I'm not going to give my best to this girl, and so she's not giving her best because she knows what she's doing. She'll
They're all putting up like walls, and they're not
yeah,
giving
and
their
so
all,
then
and
you
they're never putting aside work or anything to monetize ahead of the relationship. So the relationship comes always in the back. So guess what
mhm.
ends up happening? If an opportunity comes up that's going to make them money, sorry, I gotta go. And that's what ends up happening. And then it just never works out. It's the next and the next and the next.
Yeah, and I think that kind of climate of it all is what makes so much of this micro. So then people build habits. Okay, so now we
Hmm.
gotta get to that. That's what it is. So then people start building habits. And so let's say a guy is used to dating a girl that's super cute and she's younger, and he doesn't mind a couple red flags or whatnot. So then he's kind of hanging out with these girls, the same kind of girl over and over again. And then guess what? Now it's like a habit. That ain't going anywhere. It's a good time. It's fun. So you're basically doing the same thing with her that she's doing with the rich guy, because so now you got and so all this does is from like a human standpoint is it just makes everybody transactional.
Yeah.
Everything's transactions. Like I'm getting this out of you, you're getting this out of me,
I mean,
and
you have to see it like men and women provide value to each other. Okay, so in an essence, there will always be a certain transactional nature because it's always going to be one side offering value to each other. But what ended up happening is that we put the almighty dollar as what the value measuring system is, and that's where it all went wrong. That became the priority. Human value and everything went out the window.
yeah, and I will say when you're doing that and you have these girls that make all this money from being hot, whether it's OnlyFans or whether it's not. Sometimes these girls meet a guy, or a couple guys through different ways, and they're like, "Hey, man, just send me a video. I'll give you $1,000, or I'll pay your rent if you send me a couple videos of you doing this or that." Yeah. So maybe it's not OnlyFans, but they're still monetizing these girls sexually. And once a girl gets used to transactionally using her beauty and her charisma and whatever to get things, she's gonna have a really hard time being happy with a guy that she wants to build something with. Like
Yeah.
she's gonna be forced. She's basically just gonna be a side bitch. Like she's gonna be a side
Which is
bitch.
why they're waiting to their 40s to get married, and they're waiting to their 40s to have kids. So that's why they're pushing the can. Because they do is they wait till all their options are dried up, and then the one guy that promises them the marriage, the kids, and everything, that's when they're jumping on the bandwagon. So the guy is getting them when they're done. Like they have no more energy. They're like, I'm done.
Used
Like
up.
pretty much. That's where they are.
I mean, he's getting a car
And
with the
that's
salvage title that's been
yeah.
remodeled, and it's got 200,000 miles on it. The engine's been rebuilt. The transmission, it's
And that's
had.
why guys are saying don't get married. That's why they say don't get married. I'm sure that if they were to find somebody who had, their whole life ahead of them and were good, they would marry them. But that's not the case. That's not what they're finding. You know?
You know, it's funny too, is like, okay, I will say this. So I've been to a whole bunch of different countries. I've traveled a lot. You know, everywhere is a little different, you know, but not that different, you know, but everywhere is a little different. But you'll notice that, like, socially, some things are very different in different places, like what's like accepted, expected kind of thing. And but everyone that's on their on their phone with social media all the time, that does it all the time, they all act the same.
Mm.
I met some girls in Germany when I was over there, you know, a couple pretty girls came walking in, you know, sent a couple drinks over there, you know.
You always tell me that the girls over there, like, they're way nicer. You always say
Yeah.
that.
Well, they are when they're not, when they haven't been westernized. And because of social media, it's westernized them, you know. So if they haven't, if they're not that, they're great. But if, you know, and this is a situation where I realized, like, oh, okay, you've been westernized with social media, you know. So I go, you know, cruising over there like a little bit later after, you know, my little gathering was done. I cruise over, I said hi. And they said, were you the guy that sent the drinks? I said, yeah. And they're like, oh, sit down. I'm like, okay, great. So I sit down, we start chatting a little bit, and then it went really good. And they give me, you know, she gave me her phone number, you know, and I thought, okay, great, you know, and then she also gave me her social media, and I was like, well, this is good. I'm gonna kind of check out, see what she's about, and it just looked like every other hot girl out there in the
Ah,
world, you know, and she kept trying to figure out like what I was going to do for her versus what else she had going. And she was playing it like she was working. So she didn't have a lot of time, but she could get time off, you know, if I had like this extravagant fucking, you know, date planned out or something, you know what I mean? And, you know, to me, I thought like I could do it, but just because I could tell that's what was going on, I didn't want to do it.
mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
like I think like it comes down to this. You know, don't be friends with the opposite sex. I'm not talking about acquaintances. I'm not talking about that you can't, like, you know, say hi or how are you doing. I'm talking about if you're sitting there and you're sharing intimate, emotional, deep thoughts with anybody other than your spouse or insignificant other. I'm sorry, it's just that's
yeah,
not,
no,
that's, you're
it's not,
crossing the boundaries. That's the
yeah,
way I see it.
yeah, because like you should get that from your partner.
Exactly. So like when people say stuff like, "Oh, posting photos is cheating on social," I'm like, no. Cheating is not being social with somebody. It's not saying hello, how are you doing? Hope you have a great holiday. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not posting modeling photos on social media. That is not cheating. I'm sorry. Some people just seriously have to do it because they're contracted to do it and that's how they get paid. That has nothing to do with validation. It has to do with part of the job and what they're doing. It's not having an open DM. Like I'll get oh, because you have an open DM, you must be cheating. No, I have a business. I'm running a business online. It has nothing to do with cheating. Hanging out with your girlfriends. I have girlfriends. I'll hang out with them. We'll go to lunch. That's not cheating. Okay. What is cheating? Okay. Let's make this very, very clear is when you are socializing with the opposite sex away from your spouse and hiding things, being deceitful from your
yeah,
spouse. It
yeah,
is hiding DMs,
yeah,
taking phone calls that you have to go outside and take a walk and you're really calling some dude. That is cheating, okay? Getting drunk, flirting with the opposite sex, going out on girls' night and being flirtatious with guys. That to me is you're crossing the boundaries. You know, basically this is how I see it. Ask yourself this: would you be comfortable with your husband or your man doing that exact same thing? Would you be comfortable hanging out with a girl who is always getting naked or wanting to push him up against the wall and kiss him? Would you be cool with that? If the answer is no, then why are you doing it?
well, the answer is always no, because women like don't want guys to go to a strip club, you know? You know what I
I mean,
mean?
I don't care. I don't care about
Yeah,
strip
but
clubs.
most
I
of the
think
time.
that's cool.
Well, and it can be a very fun place. But you know, I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying that, like, at the end of the day,
I
like,
get it. Yeah.
yeah,
If you're not if you can't do it with him, if you're not able to tell him everything, if you cannot be transparent, this is why like I'm a big stickler about, you know, your man should have full transparency. He should have all your codes to your phone. He should be able to go into anything. There should be nothing hiding. You shouldn't hide anything from him. That's how I see it.
well, you know, never been married before, but I've been in a couple serious relationships, you know, one really good one for a while before it, you know, turned into the ending of the Hot Crazy Matrix. At any point, a woman can go from any place she is here to anywhere else on the axis.
Oh man, yeah. Do tell.
Oh man,
Do
well,
you want to?
I mean,
Not.
I think we maybe just kind of move. We can touch on some things around it without going into it, but
Yeah.
I think, you know, it's funny. Like, social media is such a weird thing because, like, you know what? If I didn't make money on social media with what I'm doing with my business and everything, I wouldn't do it. Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like to make
Same.
productions, like movies, TV, whatnot. I don't need social media for that. But nowadays, it's like an element to every business,
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, most of the times I'm just like putting content into a folder and giving it to management, and they're handling a lot of this stuff. So like you too, you know.
yeah, I don't do any of my
So
own posting. I don't even post any
yeah,
of you guys. I don't post. It's just I have people
yeah.
that do it for me.
So like
And
when people are like
I
you're
create
doing it
this
for
stuff.
validation, no, like you don't have it. Nobody understands unless you have built a personal brand online. You don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I like making really good money and sitting in my pool when I want and traveling when I want. You know what I'm saying? And if social media
Exactly.
is going to let me do that, then I'm going to do it because guess what? I ain't getting naked. I ain't doing porn. I ain't doing something weird. I ain't
Except for the
selling.
thirst trap photos of you in the towel.
You be quiet.
I know you can say the same thing about mine. No.
Well, sometimes there's different motivations when you're a single guy at different times in your day. But also, I don't have a female audience, and it's a good way to get a little bit of a female audience. I don't think I'm ever
Yeah.
going to have a female audience. I really don't think I'm that
No,
guy.
no, no, no. So this is what I try to tell people. 70% of the audience on social media, especially Twitter, is a male dominated. It's male dominated.
Oh.
So anybody who tries to say that they have a female audience or that they're lying. They're straight out lying to you. It's men are the consumers, women are the suppliers. Women are the advertisers, men are the consumers. It's always been that way. Social media, basically the creators they sat down and they said, we're going to design these apps to run very much like dating apps. They made them to run like dating apps. It's just how it is. So
you know what? I gotta say this while I was thinking about this earlier today. So I'm not on dating apps at all. None.
Well, I'm not, but they take my photos and they create profiles.
I know you're everywhere. It's miserable. I see you pop up on shit all the time. It's like
it's not even me.
Yeah, but I'm not on any dating apps. And so I don't want to talk to a girl that is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bummer when you meet somebody in person and you don't know how many dating apps this girl's on because then there's like, oh, he didn't text me the right way, or oh, he didn't do this or that. Like, who gives a shit? Do you like me? I like you. I don't like everybody, but I like you. Do you want to try to see if we can have some fun? Because I'm trying to see if you're fun. If you're not fun, like, get out of here. I don't care how hot you are. Like, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm at, And so with these dating, like with these girls that I think they're on dating apps and stuff, like, I don't want to be texting you all day. I don't want that. Phone calls are way better, when you get those or whatever. It's crazy. Like back in the day, it was like phone call only, and then text messages didn't mean shit. Well, now because social media is the way it is, if you get a text message from somebody, it kind of means something now because it's like personally to you. You know what I mean? But phone calls are still the best. But I don't want to waste my time with somebody that's on these dating apps because most of these girls, they're really just trying to get whatever they can for like this given amount of time in their life. And you don't know where you are in that little period, but they've decided, and the other thing is like, I can just talk about the different categories of what women go through, whatnot, but it's like, it's tough when it comes to texting somebody nowadays, that never was a thing, but now because there's all this shit on the internet, if you don't do it the right way or something, and I'm like, just get out of here. Then you don't like me, you know what I mean? And I'm good with that because there's plenty of girls out there that do, so like, bye,
Yeah,
but
I say that if a woman, it's very, very simple with a man. If you disrespect him, that's why he leaves. He will not leave unless he's disrespected. It's just that simple. So like whatever you do, ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? If you think that you're worthy of good things and you're confident in yourself and your abilities, like work on the relationship. Like if I meet somebody and they're like, can I regain trust or can I regain? I'm like, sure. But trust is verified. Like it's not blind. So like, when girls, he needs to trust me. No,
what? Like,
no. Like you can trust somebody, but it still needs to be verified. He's not going to just blindly trust you. You have to build that trust. So if he asks you, hey, I need the passwords to your phone. Hey, I need to know where you're going. Hey, I need to track where you're going. Like, that's not being controlling. That's not being insecure. That is, hey, I am showing him you can trust me. And he has the right to ask for that.
well, and here's the thing that people miss out on. So like when you have a conversation with somebody, and, I typically don't ask a girl how many dudes that they've been with or whatever, but we're just going to use this as an example. So if you ask a girl how many, dudes she's been with, and she's giving you like a lie, like she's 30 some years old and she's like 4.
Yeah, because that's why I think they're gonna lie. Like
you're like,
I think there's better ways of finding out.
well, but at that point, you're like, you just lied to me about something small.
This is what I do. I say just start being like, I don't like girls who've been with more than, like, I'm never going to date or never going to marry a girl who's been with more than 3 guys. And when you say that and she gets pissed, right away. Like, you have to watch their reaction. If they get pissed, if they get emotional, if they get bratty.
I mean, Gia, if I say that though, I mean, that's like every girl is out of the equation.
Yeah. Like saying that these days is like asking for a freaking unicorn.
It is like,
I have to take myself out. It's so hard. I said that to my husband today. I have to take myself out of the equation because I have only dated one other guy. In my head, I'm like, yes, there are girls like that. And like when people come at me, they're like, oh, all girls want money. And I'm like, I met my husband when he had nothing. We both had nothing. Like I have to literally take myself out of the shoes and not like, I have to disconnect.
Here's the thing. I don't know how to like say this to you. I've said it before. I don't think you really like the word traditional or whatever, but like you're like traditional and like that's
because there's no such thing as traditional.
I got it, but there's some really very traditional things about you. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's just not like that anymore. Like, girls aren't like you. It's just not how they are.
Because like when guys, sometimes on social media you hear like they'll say, "Oh, you're a feminist." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sir. Water is wet. Like you're feminist. Like anybody who is alive and kicking right now that isn't old and decrepit." Literally has been influenced by feminism.
Yeah,
it's like whether you want to allow it to program you or brainwash you, like you have to be able to detach and see that.
Yeah, and here's the thing where it's like, I prefer to meet people in person. I've met people online, whatever. And do you remember how a long time ago it was weird to meet somebody online?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Remember that? Yeah. MySpace was the first thing that made it not weird to meet somebody online. And I miss MySpace. I wish somebody would buy that shit back up and fire it up because you know what, dude? It was cool. You get your little wall going. You get your little wall back here. I had some Marvel shit going on, and then you got like, you got little characters twirling. You got music.
Not on MySpace.
Right when you hop on my page, music hits, so you hear whatever song I'm vibing. I got a little playlist, so if you're surfing around my photos, you got my music going. You got my little backsplash over here, dude. It was cool. You could totally customize it. You had to learn HTML code a little bit. You just grab this code and that one, just boom, boom. It was like it was actually the coolest app. It was the coolest one. Like it shits on Facebook. Like it is shitting on Facebook. Like the only thing that happened, like, because Facebook was, you remember when Facebook first started, you had to have a .edu email. you had to have an education email or it wouldn't work, whatever. It's in Facebook has struggled.
Yeah, I didn't do MySpace. Like I think Instagram was the first for me.
I met a girl on MySpace. They had these little shirts. They had these shirts that came out. It was like,
I can't keep track of all the girls. I can't keep track with you.
well, you know what? I can't either. So it's whatever. But it is what it is.
Exactly.
Like that's the other thing. That's where I was going with this, though. This is where I was going with the comment about the body count or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you meet somebody, your fucking brutal honesty will connect you to that person, even if the things that you're saying they don't like. If they know it's coming from your soul, they feel like some people, when they're connecting with you, and it's all about this frequency, they start feeling like, man, like, thank you for sharing that. And you feel closer to somebody. It's like all that is going away because of this digital age, because people are so worried, like, oh, a girl saying, I only can tell I've been with this many bodies. And a guy is saying, like, I expect this only, and I want a traditional woman, and I don't accept that. And it's like, but if you just be yourself, being yourself
That's
is
why
still
I said, that's why I always say you have to be willing to be humble and apologize, take responsibility, say, hey, this happened with me, and move on. Like it's the people who are like, they're arrogant, they don't want to say what they've done, they don't want to admit it. Oh, I'm the best, I'm superior, no. That's the ones who kill it for themselves.
Yeah, like
they shut their own doors.
I don't understand those ideas. Like that's why, like, I don't know, like
I think that's why it's just easier just to like treat people like disposable, like when it's not working, just like toss it, start new. Like because they don't want to admit that they need to change. So
okay. Let me ask you this. So excluding you, do you think that it's easier for a girl to love somebody or a guy?
So, okay. I believe that in a relationship, there's always going to be the one who is going to love more, or like the adored, basically the person who admires the person more, right? I remember there was somebody who did a video on this. They talked about the adored and the adorer. So the one who gets to be adored or loved, okay, they are the ones who tend to kind of like direct, because they have the control in the relationship.
Yeah.
And then the ones who are adored, the ones who adore, they're the ones who are more like, they don't have that kind of control. Like they depend on you. So it's always good, since there can only be one driver, right? In a relationship, there can only be one driver in the car. It is good if you have a woman who looks up, you want that. You want her to look up to you. You want her dependent on you. You want her to adore you. You want to be the adored, okay? Because then you have that kind of a little bit more control there than the other way around. Than the guy always pining after her. That's why you say don't chase a woman, right? You don't want that. Because then she has the control. She's going to be the one going, hey, I want this, and if you don't do this, I'm out, right?
Yeah, it's a horrible situation.
Right. So I understand the whole concept behind it. I get it. I'm not going to put anybody down who feels like a girl should love a guy more. But I think in my own personal experience, I depend on my husband. I look up to him. I adore him. He adores me. He sees where I add value. We both know where we add value. It's been over 20 years. Like there is no such thing as I love him more, he loves me more. There's none of that.
Yeah. Well, you guys are past that shit. Yeah,
but I think in the dating phase, there's always going to be a certain element there where you need the guy leading. You need him being the controller. You need him handling it.
Well, let me ask this without relating it specifically to a relationship. Like, do you think it's easier for a woman to love than it is a man? And I have another question after this. Which is easier to engage, a man or a woman? Which one do you think is easier?
So you're asking me which is easier to who falls in love quicker? Who falls in love sooner?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that men romanticize love. What that means is that they have a fantasy of the expectations of where it's going to go. It's not that they fall in love sooner, because people will say men fall in love sooner. Men are the romantics. You'll hear that, right?
Mhm.
But it's just that they romanticize love. They get caught up in the whole, oh, she's gonna, always be in lingerie, and she's gonna be a Victoria's Secrets model in the house, and they have like these ideas in their head, right?
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
woman is, because they have a shorter period, a shorter time to get it together, right? They don't have their beauty, their fertility runs out much sooner, right? They don't have that time. So they got to be a little bit more, okay, does he have this, that, providing security, like all those
That's a
things
good
come
answer.
ahead of, do I madly want to jump in? Like that's going to come before whether or not she's going to want to have
Okay,
crazy hot monkey,
that makes
what.
sense. That makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah.
It
So
makes sense
it's gonna take her longer. It's gonna take her longer.
because
So
I
in
just
that
think
sense, yes, men tend to jump into it a little bit sooner. But they're romanticizing it. It doesn't mean that they
because
fall in love.
I feel like it's the opposite, but maybe it's just because that's just me.
Men do not, so emotionally, they're not going to open up to a woman or share that side of them until they have ownership and they can trust her.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
So
what I
that
mean.
takes a while.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So all right. So having said that, like,
So lust is what men fall in love with first. Lust. It's
okay,
not
yeah,
it's not the other
like,
stuff.
right. So we go into that first, but like at the end
Mhm.
of the day, they don't really
They're
give
not, it's,
all
yeah,
because
they're
they're not
not getting the
100% until they know
emotional
they can. Right.
attachment. No. Hmm.
So it just makes me think that, like, I don't know, it's almost easier for a woman to engage in a relationship. And it's like, I feel like women, because they have more feelings, it's like a more of a normal thing where guys, we're not dealing with our feelings too
Well,
often.
men are pushing for sex. They want to
Yeah.
get laid
Ah,
immediately. But a woman's like, hey, if I'm going to give you sex, if I'm going to do, then I want to know that, you're going to provide for me, offer security, all these things. And a man's not there yet. He opens up through sex. He becomes emotional over through sex. So there's always going to be, that's why I said there's always going to be a little bit of like a war, a little challenge of who's going to be the lead in the beginning.
mm,
And that's why you want her to admire you and to adore you, because then you can give her, you can lead that. Otherwise, if she thinks she has the upper hand, she's going to take it. It's going to be a little
yeah.
bit of a war. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, she's going to bang the neighbor.
So like, remember that with that other situation a while back, I was always telling you, like, yeah, you gotta hold back just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the truth, but the reason I ask is because it's like, I think that, I think that a man's love means more
Yeah.
than a woman's love because it takes a whole lot longer to get there, you know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like
You
in
know what I
order in
mean?
order for him to open up emotionally, it takes him a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And I think that, it's crazy because men and women are just dramatically different. Just dramatically
Well,
different.
so a woman has to, that's why men can handle casual sex better than women. Because women naturally, they get emotional. Like in order to have sex, they have to emotionally connect with that man. So technically it casual sex kind of rewires a woman's brain. So that's why once she starts going there and doing that, it does change her. Like it does change how she handles relationships going further. And that's why men don't want to deal with women like that, because it does change them.
Yeah, because they start acting like dudes.
Yeah,
And
it
well,
changes them. Hmm.
and like imagine if there was a dude that had, that was good looking or whatever and had, 20 girls in his DMs every day trying to
Hmm.
take him and buy him shit or whatever. It's basically what we have with women now. They're acting like dudes by how many people they'll hook up with. And, and then they also have the idea of like, well, I was offered this, so I
Hmm.
deserve this. So even though I would never go with this person, do this thing, like, why aren't you doing this for me?
Yeah, because once women learn to monetize sex,
Yeah.
they can shut off emotionally. And sex now is simply a way to provide, to get what they need. And that's why it's become transactional. So, yeah, the casual sex is once birth control came into the picture, and
Yeah.
abortion and all those things.
Yeah.
It changed. That's why feminism is so it's not just feminism, it's human nature. I mean, technically, if it wasn't feminism, it'd be something else, because it's always that. It's people trying to go around God's design, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, things are going to get really weird here soon when the robots start, you start living with you. What do you think that dynamic's going to do to the people that aren't in relationships that now have robots?
Yeah, I just think AI is gonna replace humans, all like a lot of the things that are happening now. So if you want to stay needed and on top of everything, you want to adapt, you want them to get into industries and professions where, like I was talking to you before, where they can't replace you, they're going to need you, you know.
Mhm.
You have to be ahead, you have to be thinking into the future,
Yeah.
like I was talking to you about the real estate and whatnot.
I was just thinking that in terms of like this is what I was thinking, like in a relationship standpoint. So let's say
Mm.
let's
Well,
say
yeah. If
let's
they can
say
create a life like, what, on a woman, and the ability to make babies, women are
yeah.
not gonna be needed at all.
Well, because that's the thing. If you could buy a robot that will cook and clean and
Yeah,
drive you around when you've been drinking and go pick up your
he'll
your
have three or
dry
four of
cleaning,
them. Yeah,
and they can post for you on social media, they can film you, they can, so
have an
pretty
Asian
soon,
one, a blonde one, a brunette.
well, it's like there's going to be a lot of guys that will not be into like a robot, but will like the robot for all these things that normally a woman does.
Right,
And
yeah,
so when you have this robot that does all these things a woman does, then what does a woman's value become?
right. But
So
that's
now
why I think,
it's only sex at that point, and maybe a little companionship. And so like this is going to be interesting because I think at some point there's going to be women fighting for a man because all these simps out there that be drooling over everybody and hating on beautiful women and talking all this shit, they're all going to be banging robots that live with them,
that's
dude.
why I said Bubba up in the hills is gonna have like his pick and choose of the litter. Like an apocalyptic man, in the hills, he's gonna have whatever one he wants.
It's gonna be wild, like it's wild, like I don't know, man. I just think that it's going to be interesting, but they're already here. Did you see like I don't know if you've seen the robot that kind of looks like a dog, and I think like
Yeah, I
Yamaha or
saw that. Yeah,
Kawasaki made it, and you can ride it around. Like holy shit,
yeah.
But I think that it's something has to swing. The only reason I'm bringing it up is this: something has to swing from, women. The problem with women, like kind of period, is like a lot of women just don't know what they want. And so if you listen to a woman tell you what she wants, like personally, you're better off just tuning that shit out
So
because
I hear this a lot. Like, women don't know what they want, but this
most
is
of
how
them
I see
don't.
it. This is how I say it. I say that you don't know what you want until you got what you thought you needed. Okay, so basically, what it is a bunch of women who think
Same.
that they can have it all. They think they can have it all. And they think if they can have it all now, they don't want to have the patience. They don't want to do it like have the kids, focus on the family. Then when the kids grow up, start the business then, right? Then travel the world as they age. No, 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 no. They don't want to do it like that. They want it all now. They want to be young, traveling with the babies and the nanny and the house, and they want it all now. So that's the problem here. Like you'll hear somebody say, don't date a girl who posts bikini pics. Don't date a girl who drinks. Don't date a girl with a body count. But this is their experiences, okay? And while there is some validity to it, you have to understand that it's just like when I say you don't actually know if you're loyal unless you have the options, right?
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing when you look at it from a point of temptation. You don't know how that person is unless you can actually see what they want to do. Let them do what they would do on their own free will and watch how they handle it. The problem isn't posting the photos. The problem is they can't handle the attention. The problem is the extremes. The problem is that these people don't have boundaries in their own life. They don't lead with integrity. So when they're offered the world, it goes to extremes. That's how I see it, because I've done all these things. I've had a drink, I've had a glass of wine, I posted bikini photos. I've never let it, spiral and ruin my relationship. Okay. So yeah, I think that the problem we're dealing with today is nobody has any balance. Everybody wants it all. They're going to extremes, and then they're using the bad examples as our standards.
I agree. And to continue with that, I would say, if you take a guy that's been with, like, let's just say like 1,000 girls, right? People would say like, oh, he can never settle down or whatever, this and that. Like, I disagree. I think that if that dude finally decides like this is the one, like, that guy is probably the guy that can be loyal, because another girl, another experience, it's just another one. He's been through at this point, he's realized there's nothing he's missing out on. Like, there's none of that. And so like that dude could be loyal. Like, I think that's the guy that could be loyal, that one. You know what I mean? On the flip side, women are the opposite. So, take, a woman that has a really low body count. Because of that, you know what I mean? She can be loyal, because, it's a completely different dynamic, because she hasn't had so many bonds, make and break to where like she can't attach herself anymore. And so like, think about this. So it's like, okay, so if you got a dude that's been, with not very many women, and he's married, and a young girl comes up and starts flirting with him or whatever, and he has this opportunity, one of two things is going to happen. He's either going to take it because he's not used to it, and like, holy smokes, it feels so good. Then he's going to think this is love, and it's going to ruin the marriage. Or he's not going to do it because he just can't pull the trigger, but then it's going to eat him up that he didn't, and he's going to think about it all the time, and then like that's going to ruin the relationship, kind of thing. So it's like, or it could, I'm not saying, and so like at the end of the day, it's almost like the more experienced the guy is, the better off. The less experienced a woman is, the better off, like for both situations. And
I think both men and women have completely different needs. I agree with you. And then you have to also understand that all humans, regardless men or women, are going to want what they don't have. Mm-hmm. So that's why I always say, like, as a human, we inherently are like born with sin. We want to sin. We want to do whatever is like looks enticing or tempting to us. So we have to constantly fight that. And if it's not going to bring us, because people always say, well, what does marriage do for you? What does family do for you? But it's not what it's going to do for you now, because 10 years ago, I wouldn't be able to say this, but 20 years into my marriage, I know it's the long game. It's where I am now. It makes sense. And if you are saying that, you're not going to understand it in the first year or the 5 years or the 10 years. You'll get it when you're 50 and you're 60 and you're in that deathbed, or you're sick and you have somebody there for you or enjoying life with you. When social media and traveling and all that gets old, that's when you get it. Like, you get it later on. It's the long game. And I don't think most people are looking at that right now on social media.
Well, I agree. And, fortunately for you, you've been in a relationship this whole time. But a lot of times these girls don't get it until their options dry up. Then they like, I'm finding myself. I'm born again in Christ. And then you meet these girls are going to church, or they're like, I'm a fur mommy. I just love my dog. And they're just fucked up, broken people. And these are the things. And a smart guy knows this. You know what I mean?
That's why they say smart guys don't get married now. That's why they say that.
You know what they need to do? They need, like, I was thinking about this. They just need to even the playing field. So it just needs to be like, if we're gonna try to have people getting married again and making marriage like a thing, like, it needs to not be so goddamn one-sided. It can't be, you get with a woman, you're a millionaire, you crushed it, you spent your whole life building an empire, she's with you for a while, then maybe you fall off, maybe you get sick, maybe something happens, maybe business changes, she's not happy, she cheats on you with her personal trainer, and now she takes half your fucking money? No, dude, like, hit the fucking road. Like, it needs to just be like, you made your decision, get the fuck out, I don't owe you shit. And then people would stay together. So then they wouldn't do those things. But because we've created an environment for no accountability for women when it comes to relationships and even marriage, then you have this situation where nobody wants to get married. And so instead of nobody getting married, here's what's happening. Passport bros. Dudes are going to other countries to find traditional women that are just like, I want a man to take care of me and have a family, and it will be great.
But I don't think women over in the other countries are necessarily traditional, because it's not like they don't have a window into what's happening. They just don't have the resources to do what's happening here. So that's why I say,
I think that they're traditional.
But if you choose to go that route and you bring them here, it's just gonna do the same thing's gonna happen here. I think you're gonna do it. Stay.
Yes and no. It's like I said earlier. If they're already on social media over there and they're into it or whatever, then everybody acts the same. It's on social media. Mm-hmm. But if you take a girl that literally is over there and she's living with her mom till she's 26 and her grandma, and she's watching what her sister got married into and this, that, and family is everything, because in a lot of other countries, family is everything. Like they live together and stay together.
Yeah, but then look what happens. Have you noticed the guy will bring her here and then he will end up housing the entire family, like five years in. He will end up taking care of the whole family. I mean, you will end up having her and her family move in with you. Her family is everything, right? I mean, that is what happens.
Well, yeah.
So if you're gonna do it, like, stay there, because if you bring them back to the West, the same thing's gonna happen here.
Well, the one thing that you don't see dudes from other countries coming to America to get a Western woman.
Yeah, true. Or
marry myself a Western woman. That's what I want.
Or you don't see Western women going over there to get a husband.
They're not going anywhere because they don't want husbands. They just want to get plowed and get on a boat. They just want to shake down some old guy for as much money and purses and shit as they can and makeup.
I have spoken with a couple of them, and they do say, yes, if I could find a husband, they do say it. I don't think that they are willing to make the sacrifices necessary. That's what I think comes down to.
No. They're not going to say no to the old greasy guy that's got all the money that's going to say, hey, you and your friends want to bang both of you and put you on the
want to sacrifice.
Jet.
They don't want to sacrifice. They want the lifestyle to remain the same or get better.
Dude, I saw a thing. I agree. I believe that, because I saw a thing where they were asked all these girls, like, would you rather be a peasant's wife or the king's mistress? And all these girls were like, king's mistress. Mm-hmm. I was just reading in Kings, and talking about David. He had 10 concubines at one point.
Yeah.
And there's 10 side bitches just hanging
out. Guys,
out.
if you're listening and you want a question, like if you have a question, throw them in. I'm seeing some of you drop stuff, so don't be shy. Don't be shy. So 10 concubines, huh?
Yeah, at one point he left, and check this out. So he ready for this? So he I was reading, he left to go fight battles and shit, because that's what he did. And then when he came back, it was like a year or something. He was like older at this point, and he came back, and it doesn't say what happened, but it did say that he was so pissed off when he got back, because he left them in charge of the palace, that he continued to take care of them, but he isolated them, and they lived the rest of their days as widows, and he never slept with them again. So they probably thought he was going to die or whatever, and hooked up with some other dudes or whatever. Something went, say he found out something. And so then he basically stuck them all in a part of the castle, and that's where they just fucking stayed the rest of their fucking days. And when I read that, I thought to myself, like, scandalous assholes have been doing this shit for years.
Oh, man. Yeah. They've been talking about this forever. Yeah. Like like I said, the 80s music, the 90s music has been red pilling us forever. They've been saying all this. Like, people might be talking about this, that, or the other content creator, but the fact of the matter, it's been going on for ages.
Yeah, we just see it more now. Mm-hmm. And now it's like a hot topic.
Exactly. But to kind of end this off on the cheating part, you can't fix your spouse. You cannot fix the other person. And I keep saying this. If you're a woman and you think you can fix your husband, you've already lost.
And if you're a man and you think you can fix her, you can't fix her either. Nope.
You can only fix yourself. You have to, the only way that you can help that other person is by supporting them through grace, meek, mild spirit. You can't force them. You can't point. You can't blame. Just lead by example and support them. And if they love you and they notice it and they're aware of it, that can help them change as well. It's really all you can do. And if if you're in a relationship and you're not setting boundaries, or she's able to turn around and say, "Oh no, you're not being insecure. Don't let her play the whole gaslight stuff. You're insecure, you're controlling." No, you are recognizing that technology is allowing for this, DMing and going out and flirting, and it's a slow creep. It's a slow creep.
Well, when you talk about this micro cheating and we're talking about girls having friends and all that shit, like, I will say this. I've dated girls from all different age groups. Okay. And what I've realized is women in their 30s always got like 3 or 4 dudes just hanging around.
Just 30s?
Huh?
Just 30s?
I mean, it's in the, yeah, it's more so. It's always like, these are the ones, like, it's girls in their 30s. They're keeping these options open because a girl in her 30s has less opportunities now.
What about
so
20s?
Like, well, you'll see girls in their 20s and they might be talking to a million different guys or whatnot. But like, you'll see these women that are like professional and they work in their careers and they're single and whatnot. And you see they can't be trusted is what I'm getting at, because, at the end of the day, they're just keeping these options open or whatnot, where like a lot of young girls know that they have options. So there's not always attached to them like 3 dudes that they kind of hooked up with in the past, or
they're not so desperate to hold on to options.
And so it's like a thing, dude. And so, with the whole idea of this whole like cheating thing, like there's different situations for the different age groups that you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Everything is evolving too, because it's.
So would you throw the micro cheating term in the garbage and just call it cheating? Do you think that they created this term, micro cheating and all that? Do you think it's just like another made up term, like how they always?
I think they created that because women can't take accountability, so it's their way to try to get them to realize the fuck they're doing. Because women accountability is just like Chinese, It's my fault? No. He was just, we're friends and just,
it's micro cheating though.
You know what I mean?
It's just micro cheating. It's not.
Yeah, it was just this, it was just that. It's like, bitch, it's just get out of here. I'm over it. You know what I mean? Like,
like in the video, like in the beginning, he's like, fucking bye. Right? In the video?
Yeah, I mean, that's straight up cheating, but it's amazing to me how, like, okay, I will say this too. If you meet a girl, you guys listen up, right? If you meet a girl and you're talking to her and you can see that she demonstrates accountability for actions or whatnot.
By saying what? By apologizing? By what?
Like, let's say if you're hearing about the ex, or you're hearing about something that went bad, and it's like you just throw it out there and say, so it was all their fault, and you know what I mean? And it's like up there, yeah, blah, 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 blah. You're like, okay, so I hear this every time, but if the girl says, then you're
he was
okay.
a good person. He was a good person. I'm happy that it happened. I learned my lesson.
Yeah, I messed up.
I wish him well.
I wish I would have did things a little different, and I just, if you get anything other than, oh, it's all his fault, then you're better off with like whatever girl you're talking to, because like it's amazing to me how like most women, not all, but most, like just accountability is just like, nope. I don't get it. I don't get like, as a man, us men, we apologize for shit that ain't even our fault. You know what I mean? You just at some point, just to try to get the situation resolved, I'm sorry that I didn't text you back fast enough.
I've met guys that
Sorry,
will
I
do
was at
that.
the
They'll
funeral.
say sorry at every little turn, and I'll be like, "Stop saying sorry. Stop apologizing. What? Like for everything. Like, oh, I'm sorry I said that, or I'm sorry." Like that's like their second word that they're always using, and I'm like, "Don't apologize anymore." Like I don't know where is that coming from? Yeah, the
Women don't take,
extremes.
women
Yeah.
don't take accountability, so you'll never get the situation resolved if you just don't take the blame. So like us men, because
Uh,
we're the we because this is a man's world and we're the superior gender, so we have to lower ourselves and go, you're right, it was my fault. But because the gender that is inferior knows that, they always want to win. They always want to, everything is a goddamn competition. You know what I mean? And so, being the bigger man, we come down and go, babe, I'm sorry. I guess I got a little upset and I should. When in reality, I was just pissed off because, you're totally not listening and you're on your phone and you're doing this, whatever the fuck it was. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's like this. Here's the deal, because like accountability usually gets a man upset when it crosses into like disrespect somewhere, and that's what you were talking about. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So if you disrespect the man a little bit, that's when he gets all fired up, and then women are like, "Why are you so upset?" I'm like, "Well, you just disrespected me," and like if you were another man, you'd get beat up, but you happen to be this woman that is basically my enemy at this point, and I don't know what to do with you other than scold you like a child. And then it's like, oh, then they start crying, and it's this whole thing, and it's like they tell everyone how bad you talk to them, and there's all this shit, and it's like gaslighting because you started all that. You know what I mean? And then so that's why it's the whole conversation like men are not like women, because it would be like okay for men and women to fight, and that wouldn't be a big deal because no one gives a shit when two dudes beat the shit out of each other. But you throw a girl in there, everybody's falling all over themselves because we're not equal, because we're not. But it's like, I think we proved that with the old transgender movement.
Yeah,
Started getting
I
into
think
women's
that's a good
sports.
it's a good lesson, right? If somebody's constantly having to talk about like I do this, I have this, I drive this, they don't have it, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with a woman. If I'm superior, I'm independent,
Yeah.
I can do it all.
Yeah.
You don't got it all together. Like
Yeah.
people who like to talk about everything, they usually don't have it.
Yeah, like you don't see me walking around going like, yeah, man, fucking like, I go to the gym this many days a week and I'm this and I'm that and da 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 da. Like I don't have to say shit. You just look at me, you're like, okay, the guy's obviously got some body dysmorphia. He's dealing
Like
with
Rob just said, let me show this what he said. He said women do not want to serve a purpose. So I think this is a good one because it's that they don't know their purpose. When you make having a family, getting married, and all of those things that come with that as like below, that's how they look at it, right? Is it inferior to them? Now what is their purpose? To have a career, to make money? That's not a purpose. So it's like what we're feeding women, and then they found a very ingenious way to make their ability to have children evergreen. So don't do it now, you can do it later, right? Go do IVF. Go freeze your eggs, right? So now we just keep kicking the can down the road.
well,
So that this is always cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
yeah.
It's marketing, it's money.
I mean, I say this, okay, women don't want to serve a purpose. Like women are good at certain things, okay, right? And that has to do with family. So you nailed it. But that is what they're great at, and that's what they should focus on. That's how it should be. Because at the end of the day, if we're equal, you mean to tell me I'm gonna I'm getting fired up and getting the hands going. So you mean to tell me I'm gonna meet a girl that's gonna pay my bills, buy me a car, fly me around the world, protect me when we're not safe, she's gonna teach me something, you know what I'm saying? She's gonna help my career happen. Like, no, women, she's gonna, you know what I mean? No, women don't do that. We do those things. We do all those things for you. And because we do all those things for you, it's because we can. It comes naturally for us because we're good at all those things. You know what I mean? So, like, most dudes nowadays are like, what purpose does a woman serve if, like, we're doing all this shit and a woman doesn't even want to have a family? She doesn't even want to, Now, I'm not saying there aren't some women out there that can do some things, but every woman thinks they're that woman. Every woman out there thinks they're that woman. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, and it's like, you ever seen those videos?
I'm every woman, chaka.
Yeah. You ever seen the videos of like women like with power tools and shit? Oh my goodness. Oh my God. It's hilarious. Like,
That's
you know,
that's been this has been a slow creep. I'm telling you. Like even before
I
social
have
media,
a
they've been brainwashing women long
so,
before all this.
so I will say I have a friend of mine.
Sitcoms.
His wife is incredibly useful. She can just like they flip houses and stuff, and she like moves doors. Like I think the door needs to be there, not there, and she can. She's awesome, And so they exist, okay, but that's not normal. Like that is not a normal thing. Not every girl is that, But you know what? Girls
Well,
are really
it's a skill that you have to start and then you get better at.
yeah,
It's
but
like I didn't just become a good cook. Like I do it every single day. Like you get
yeah,
better at it.
well
Everything
that's
has to be worked on.
100%, and that's the thing. Like us guys, we like to know how things work. So most of the time, women aren't like that. Like, you know what I mean? Most women haven't thought about. That's why, like, when you don't never send a woman to a mechanic to tell you what's wrong with the car because they have never thought about how a car works enough to be able to have a conversation with the mechanic. Now, if a dude hasn't thought about these things, it's like something wrong with that dude. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know anything about a fucking car. Like, you mean to tell me you don't know? You know what I mean? But like with a woman, we expect they don't know these things. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just wouldn't turn on. It just doesn't turn on anymore. I'm like, well, was there smoke? And was it knocking? Was it pinging? Why did it explode? Like, oh yeah, there was a fire, there was smoke and everything under the hood. You're like, whoa, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are conversations shit you hear. You know what I mean? And I'm only saying it because it's like the purpose women serve best is family. I mean, best. I'm not saying they can't do other things. There's some girls that do. But for the most part, and society is just taking that away from them. And like you said,
Well, I don't. I think people have taken away from themselves. I honestly do because like here I am. I didn't take it away. Like I started a family young.
Sure.
Like I think you have to. It's what you prioritize. It's what you put ahead. Now, did that stop me from traveling? Did it stop me from doing some of the things being creative? No. But I had a timetable. Like I didn't start that in the beginning. Like I had to wait. I had to be patient. There were some months that I was like, or even years, I was like, man, I wish I could do something else. But you make sacrifices for your family. You do what you have to, and then before you know it, you're doing the things that you like to do later on. So just have to be patient.
Which is what nobody has anymore is patience. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think do anybody else have questions that we can answer?
Let's see. Okay. Emotional cheating when married is cheating. So this is going over that. He's saying women cheat way more. I think that this is like a controversial thing. Like I hear this a lot, right? I think the gap is closing, because social media offered all these other avenues that would typically be considered cheating. Like we spoke about today, right? Micro cheating. Like all these are considered cheating. So if you want to start counting all that, yeah, maybe, you're never going to really get the facts from statistics. You're not. Like
No.
You would have to pull so many different statistics. And then even from that, you're still giving an opinion. You're still going off of like, who's ever going to come out? Half of the stuff that is going to come out 10 years from now, right? Like we don't even know the effects of what Instagram and what social media. I always say social media is like the most detrimental things to society ever. I think it's going to show, like we'll see this years from now, what it actually did. People killing themselves, suicides, just to catch a pic. Look how many people have died just trying to take a pic. Like in right? There's so many things that haven't been recorded, that haven't come out. And we're still getting all that. Even I could talk about all the teachers coming out, right? All the female teachers with having statutory rape with these young boy students. It's been, countless, like all this stuff is coming out because it's all being exposed through social media. Now we're able to find out. So yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe in 10 years time, it's going to come out that women are cheating more. You never know.
I think the only thing that we can kind of go off of right now is if you talk to like a marriage counselor or a psychiatrist, somebody, and go from their experience, say, what do you see?
They're gonna. I've had tons of conversations like this. Most of the counselors, most of the doctors, they're the ones who come up with the terms like micro cheating, and the guy is insecure and he's being controlling. The reason why is because they can't sell programs if they tell it like how we are telling it to you today. They can't. If we just tell you blunt, this is what's happening. Women are selfish. Women are being entitled. They're doing these things that are cheating. They're not micro cheating. They're actually cheating. Nobody's going to sell. Nobody can sell books. Nobody can sell programs like that, because now what they have to do is actually change. They have to take accountability and change.
Accountability.
There you go again.
You ever see that? You ever see that video of like, it was like a Fear Factor setup? They had these three ladies, and they're like, all right, your final obstacle. And they have this table, they got a sheet over it, and then they pull the sheet off and it just says the word accountability. It's like, which one of you girls can take that for the win? It was hilarious. It was just literal comedy, but it was rooted in truth.
Let's see some other ones. Let's see this one. What is it? They are told to make them safe rather than risk family at young ages. They're chasing money. They're chasing stability, because to them, money is stability. Like, even I try to tell that to women, just because a man has a lot of money in his bank account doesn't mean he can actually protect you. Like, for me, I would rather call my husband and have him actually physically be there when I need me. Like, if I had to have a man call somebody else I wouldn't be happy. I want my actual physical husband to be there. Like, you can't buy everything, but that's where we are today. Like, they think they can buy everything. Buy maids, housekeepers, protection. That's why I hate to say this, but maybe we do need a collapse, because maybe that's the only way to reset it. Right?
Well,
I hate to say it, but.
Well, I think that the robots are going to be a really wild card factor for our lives that are coming, because it's not like this is sci-fi and I'm like, yeah, maybe. It's like they're here. It's just a matter of incorporating them now, and they're just going to get better. I seen this robot that was like vacuuming, like at this technology conference, and I was like, I want one of those. Does it fold laundry too?
So Lucy's asking a question. She says, how do you handle a guy that cries when you address how his actions hurt you, because he never thought about how they would be affected? Okay, so this one's a good one. As a woman, okay, it is very difficult for us to detach the tone and the way that he says things to us versus what he's actually saying. Okay. You have to be able to take away don't hear the tone. If he's shouting it, don't hear the words he's saying. Because if a man gets emotional, that means there's something that's driven him to that point. He has probably suppressed that emotion. Maybe it's a buildup of things that have been happening for a long time. And now he comes out and says exactly what's on his mind in a blunt way, okay? Whatever that may be. Could be, shut your pie hole, okay? But he says it in a way that's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he just said that to me. That's so rude. And as a woman, we hear the tone, we hear the shouting, but he's actually telling you, hey, I need you to be quiet and listen. I need you to understand. So I would need to find more context as to what exactly he said that hurt your feelings, so I could tell you whether or not there was some justification there or what he was saying. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not hearing his side of things. But I think as women, we have to understand that a man doesn't just come out and say something to hurt us. He has suppressed it over time, and he's gotten to a point where he can't hold it in anymore. So I hope that helps.
When she says cries, I mean, are we just taking it for the word it is? Or are we assuming that might mean that he's just throwing a fit?
Okay. I think that this is somebody who handle a guy that cries when he addresses how the action. So basically anything that he hears, like if he heard something that she said to him, he's getting emotional around her. And she's asking, how does she handle that? But I think that, you have to understand if a man gets to that point where he's actually showing emotion, that's like that's something that's happened over time. That's something that has been a buildup. So listen.
Yeah, I want to know what she did in here. I want to know what she did.
Listen to him. What is he saying? I would have to get more context as to what it is.
Yeah, I want to know too. I'm like,
I mean, it's definitely
the good news is,
I think for a woman, it's a turnoff, right? If a man cries, it's kind of like, oh, like what happened here? It's not a good thing.
Yeah, sure.
But how long have you been in a relationship with him? Like how long have you guys been together? I need there's just missing. There's too much missing context here.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, let's see. You're welcome to add more to that if you like. I'm going to move on. I wish I could help more with that, but I think just listen to him. Take out the tone. Don't listen to what he's actually saying. Women often. Okay, here's another one. Women often have difficulty hearing men out. Yes, they do. They do.
With the last one, maybe she's fucking bringing shit up all the time. I thought about something. You ready for this? Before we get to this question, I thought about something. Do you know if we didn't have women in the workforce, we could totally eliminate HR? Think about it. We only have HR because of women.
Yeah, and a lot of
there ain't no dude's gonna go cry to another man and be like, "Oh, this guy talked to me funny," or "Oh, he was, making some fucking comment about my butt." Like, we're gonna be like, "Fuck off, dude! Just get the fuck out of my face! I'm gonna slap you."
Most of the CEOs, like the heads of HR, are female.
Of course, that's what I'm getting at. But if we didn't have women in the workforce, there would be zero HR. We could eliminate an entire industry if it wasn't for women in the workforce. So I'm only bringing this up because, these problems, when I said he hurt my feelings, that's the shit they bring to HR. Like, they bring that shit to HR, and HR's like, "Oh, we got to do something about it." And it's like, nah, maybe you don't. Maybe buck up, Buttercup. This is the fucking man's world, right? You're a fucking boss bitch, right? You're tough, right? Like, what the fuck is the problem? Like, how about you just do your job and shut the hell up? How about that? You know what I mean? Because if a dude comes in and he's like, "Oh, I didn't like the way this girl was talking to me," and like, shut the fuck up. We get out of here. We wouldn't even give that guy half a chance. So I'm just bringing this up because I'm thinking about the last question, and that's very typical. It's like, oh, he's this or that. It's like, well, the other thing is, at least he didn't hit you. At least when you came, said some shit to him, he didn't, "Hey, get out of here." And she's not saying that like he hits me. You know what I'm saying? Dude, this is where we kind of lose ourselves, because I don't know what the context of it all is, but I do know at the end of the day, women are constantly like, "I didn't like his tone. I didn't like the way you said this. I didn't like that." Like, us dudes don't talk to each other like that. So if there's something that's not working out with him, he don't know what the hell to say to you anyway. Because us dudes like, "What? Like, what are you saying?"
That's kind of a learned behavior, because for a man to cry, it's just not a natural thing for him to do.
I'm with you. I think she's saying cries, makes a big deal about it. I think that's what this. I think we're losing. We need some context. I think she's saying he throws a fit.
Yeah.
Maybe gets upset or whatever. You know what I mean? I think we don't know her lingo. Maybe that's just her saying he's having throwing a fit.
Yeah, I would definitely, Lucy, you have to send me some more context there. Okay, so here she goes. She puts it. So you're right, freedom fighter. Women have a difficulty hearing. They need to shh and listen. I agree. Okay, what's this one? This happened to a friend of mine. For example, in a span of 2 to 3 years, he only wanted to clean and change a child, but doesn't want to deal with the actual responsibility of a parent, but wanted alone time with the child without actually learning how to interact with a child with DS. And mother often had to make and navigate things, so he walks away when addressing. He said that he couldn't do it, but he stayed 2 to 3 years only to not look like a bad guy. When she asked why he didn't just leave. That's a lot there.
First
So
of
this
all,
happened to a friend of yours, okay? So this is kind of like, you probably heard this, correct? I'm assuming that this is like you're getting this story from one of the other side. Go ahead, Aaron.
I mean, this is a typical story of a man. Like she's saying here, like, oh, he doesn't want to deal with the responsibility. He's not doing enough. I'm reading that he's not doing enough, and then they don't want him alone with the child because he's not learning how to interact with the child. So he's not doing it right. So he's not doing enough. He's not doing it right, and then eventually he walks away because that's what men do. Because we're like, fuck, I'm over it. So
well, if they're not getting any positive affirmation and all they're getting is criticism,
yeah,
he's
you know
gonna
what
walk
I mean.
away.
So you know what I mean? Like I don't know what's going on at all, but I just do know this is a typical like man's not doing enough, man's not doing it right. He walks away. Now everybody's mad at him, and they're like, "Oh, you just stick around, try not to look like the bad guy." Well, if he hung around 2 or 3 years, it wasn't to not look like the bad guy. He was trying to make it work. Okay, and
Right.
obviously somebody was unworkable, whatever the fucking situation was, because like when I read that, that's what I see. Not doing enough, not doing it right, hung in there for 2 or 3 years, and finally.
I think women need to understand that a man isn't gonna just know what to do right away. It takes time. This is things that take time. You know, I think that we expect men to be ready-made. We expect them, just to know what to do. No, they got to be able to make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, not give up, and keep trying. And we got to learn as women to suffer with them while they make the mistakes, and not try to come in and try to take over. How are they ever going to, learn the right thing and get wise if they're not making those mistakes and learning from them? So especially with a baby, with a child, like that takes time to learn.
Which guys aren't good with anyway. That's typically not our strong suit, is with children under 10. Like you put me around a child under 10 and I'm like, what do you want me to do here? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to do here. And like, it's just our nature.
So here's her second part. Lucy comes in, she says, she does give him positive affirmation, but wants to control everything. So I don't even like when you say control everything, okay? What do you mean control everything? Because a person who is trying to take responsibility and lead is going to have an element of control there. They have to, naturally, okay? And you cannot expect somebody to have responsibility, right, without listening and actually following them. So then what you're doing is basically expecting slavery out of them, because you are expecting them to take responsibility, but they don't have any authority there. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense.
Just like typical shit where a guy just isn't doing enough, isn't doing it right, and then he fucking gave up, walked away because he's like, I'm over it. Like I can't fix this, because that's all a guy wants to do is like what he needs to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So she's saying 2 3 years is not enough time. No, I don't think. I think that first of all, you never want to walk out of the situation. But then again, I'm not hearing his side of the story.
Yeah, totally.
I'm getting one side. Okay. So you should never want to walk away from your family or your children, but we don't know his side of the story. We don't know what happened. All I can go off of is what you're telling me right now. And I think that if he was there that long and he was told he's controlling and he was told that he didn't do it right and he was constantly criticized, are you going to blame him if he left?
It's just, it's hard to really go off of everything that's going on because this is hearsay of hearsay. We're reading this versus like, whatever. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of women need to realize that like us men are critical, and us men are leaders, and we don't have these mothering instincts, but we do have an instinct to make a child prepared for the world. That is our main instinct. So if we are hard on a child, or we are critical, or we are things that a mother might not agree with, there's a reason why it takes a man and a woman to raise a child. Because like, I know my dad was really hard on me, and he said some things to me when I was younger that stuck with me forever. But you know what? I'm glad he did, because I was being a little bitch, and I wasn't good at things that I thought I was good at. And like, I needed someone to tell me that instead of coddle me, or I never would have became the man that I am now. I know we're taking things a little bit different into consideration. The kid had Down syndrome, but I had cancer. So I was like a fucking bubble boy anyway. So it's like, yeah, he was hard on me in his own way. I needed that. And so I don't know what a Down syndrome kid is capable of, but probably a whole lot more than we realize. And you know what I mean? So to just sit here and, of course, we're going to shovel everything on the dude because he left or whatever, but we don't know how hard that environment was to deal with. You know what I mean?
She says he was never told that. He's saying that she was controlling and forceful. She even involved a therapist to help her navigate the relationship. So yeah, so this is why I keep saying that modern women, like westernized women, this is what they do. They will often expect a man to take responsibility while not giving him the authority to do so. So what it does is it basically sets him in a position where he feels kind of like he's been the door. He gets into a door and then it's locked behind him, and then he can't leave and he can't do anything. And no matter what he does, he's criticized. So that's why he felt she was controlling and forceful, because in an essence, everything that he did was criticized, and she constantly wanted to control everything. And then your last part with a therapist, that just seals it all, Then they use the therapist, or they use the religious elders in the congregation to basically use that as like, hey, look, I'm going to sick this person on you, and they're going to tell you now. That's what they do.
You nailed it. You nailed it, sis. You just fucking nailed it. I don't really have anything to add to that.
No.
Yeah.
That's what happens. So, I mean, if you can always send me a DM, and I can try to, or you can go into the Telegram group and I can try to help you there. Yeah. If you guys have any other questions that you want to kind of keep off of the live and you want specific, you can always head on over to the Telegram too. So. Okay. Well, what do you have planned in the next couple of weeks? What do you have going on?
I got some really cool stuff going on that I can't talk about yet, but
what do you want to share with the audience?
What can I share with the audience right now? Well, doing some collabs. I got some new apparel coming out with Super Style. I got some new stuff coming out. It's looking really good. We're gonna do some drops with that. I'm expanding into a bunch of different gyms and different things with my gym vlogs, but I'm working on some productions that are not getting me on social media till they're ready to come out. So yeah, that's kind of it right now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, go follow his page here on Twitter. Also, he's got his YouTube page and his Instagram. And we're going to be here every Monday. I have to head on over to Costa Rica. I'm out of the States next week, but I'm gonna still bring my laptop. I'm gonna bring everything. I'm gonna be linking up with Ginger, so maybe she can come on with us. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna try to still get on every Monday here. So we can do that. I got, of course, my public speaking going on in Vegas coming up in August. So if you guys want to meet up with me in person and speak and actually go over things in detail, work out with me, do the cold plunges, all that stuff, we're going to be doing that out in Vegas. I have quite a bit of things going on. It's all up on my site under the events page. So if you guys want to link up with me, let me know. But I appreciate everybody being here and all your comments. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a good time. Yeah, of course.
Another day done.
Yeah, we got to. I'm tired. I need some rest, because I had a weekend, so I need some rest.
Yeah, you find my Telegram, guys, in my website, on my website. So just go to my bio, and in the link and the website, you'll find my Telegram to send specific questions over there. All right, guys. See you all soon. Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Love ya.